All right. So, old school versus new school brokering techniques for commercial real estate. Whether you're a seasoned commercial agent or if you're maybe a seasoned residential agent, there may be some things that you're not doing that you could be doing to maybe speed things up. I had a conversation with a residential broker who's just getting in the commercial the other day, and it he understandably wanted to print out all of the contracts and everything. He wanted to get everything in a binder, take it over to the client and have them sign it. And we call it a wet signature when it's signed by a pen and paper. We don't need to do that anymore. There are some things that you need to do that for. Sometimes you have to have a mobile notary that gets out there and gets things signed and notarized. But oftentimes we don't need to be driving 2 hours to our client's house who's a couple cities away. Because in commercial, they're not going to live where the building is being sold necessarily. In residential, oftentimes it's their house. They're going to sell the house. They're going to buy another house. So you can broker the transaction. You can also meet them at the house oftentimes. But a lot of time in commercial, they're in very separate areas. They're even perhaps across the country. So what do? You do a lot of this new brokering stuff where it's a lot more high tech. And so we're going to go over that real quick. But first thing I want to make sure is clear. The game plan for brokering commercial transactions, it's exactly the same as it's always been. Okay, whether you're using some outdated stuff, some new stuff. First, you're building a database. Second, you're going to maintain that database, and then you're just going to broker transactions. That's the basics of it, right? Your database is where all of your business comes from. So just build that up. In residential, they do, like door knocking and stuff like that. Commercial, our door knocking is cold calls. Okay, so start building that database up, have a reason to talk to people. We're not going to go into why to do each of the things here. I'm going to show you what you should have, the different software you should be using, the different tools that you should be using. I'm not going to go into detail on how to use them. I'm just going to tell you what to use. And then in separate videos, what we'll do is we'll go over the different tools and resources that you can use, because each of those really would take up its own full video. Okay, so we don't want to take too much time here. So we're just going to talk about these 3 topics here and kind of the older way to do it and a newer way to do these 3 things, right? First, I want to be clear too, keep it simple, okay? There's a lot of flashy and shiny things I'm about to show you and talk about. And it's very easy to have the shiny object syndrome where, hey, here's this new thing that has all the bells and whistles. Why don't I get that all set up, right? So I'm going to spend 2 months setting this whole system up. Okay. I'm a victim of that myself. I'm guilty of doing that. And it's been difficult to not do it over the course of my career. But you could say, hey, here's this cool thing. Let's go do that, rather than doing the money-making activity. So if you're just brokering, if you're comfortable brokering with a pen and paper and just your phone and writing down your notes, that's fine. Okay. All I'm saying is there's a newer, better, faster way to do it. But if you're consistently doing business, and especially the seasoned commercial agents out there, you're fine. Okay. I'm just saying, don't get shiny object syndrome, but there are some different things that help you streamline the process a bit. Excuse me. All right, so building a database, number 1 there, right? First, you're going to pull in the old version, right? So what we used to do is there used to be data banks of contact information that you could buy. You could buy lists, and then obviously those lists are probably pretty stale, not really helpful. Maybe the numbers don't really work, or the emails even are not really helpful. But that's how they used to do it. You might manually dial the numbers. There might have been like some big bulky equipment that you could hook everything up to and then do an auto dial, right? This is long, maybe 20 years ago. And then you're going to keep track of all your notes on, like I said, you could have a notebook, you could have Excel spreadsheet. That's how we kind of used to do things, right? So now there's a lot of software that you can use to manage your database, do your dials, and pull lists from. Okay. A couple things you want to be aware of is Costar, Reonomy, Prospectnow. These are 3 kind of more popular places to go in today's marketplace to pull a list from. So I can pull a commercial property list based on all the different data that I would like. And there's different price points and there's different quality. Okay, so there's actually one above Costar that costs, I think it was like $1,500, $2,000 a month, but they're some of the best of the best. Costar would be the next rung down, then Reonomy, then in my opinion, Prospectnow. That's how you're going to pull your lists. You can plug them into a dialer. I use Phoneburner. Okay, I'll talk a bit about that. And then you're going to track all of this through a CRM or contact relation management software. Not necessarily an Excel spreadsheet, but those still work just fine. Okay, so of those we were talking about, all right, on the new way to do it, Costar, Reonomy, Prospectnow. I use Phoneburner for a dialer. There's two things that you can do for these. Phoneburner is a single dialer, right? So it's going to use my phone. It's going to dial numbers one at a time. And then when things happen, we will do different stuff. So we may click a button on there that says, yes, I have a live answer. I have my conversation with them. And at the end of the conversation, I've got another button I can press, depending on how it goes. That'll send them an email and a text. Okay. I'm on to the next call, but with Phoneburner, doing these one at a time, it allows me to ramp up how many calls I'm doing. Now, if I'm not filling my day with calls already, do I need Phoneburner? No, not yet. You should be doing your calls. So do I need this shiny object? Not yet. Well, I do, but I mean, you might not need it yet. You need to make sure you're ramped up on your calls. And now you're saying, man, I wish I could do more calls. That's when you get one of these. There's another thing called, it's a multi-dialer. This is where when you say spam likely, it's because what they have is a software that's dialing like 5 or 10 numbers at the same time. And when someone answers, that's where, if you've seen where you pick the number up and it takes 5 seconds for someone to pick up and say hi, that's because they're using these multi-dialers that are dialing 5 or 10 at a time. And it's a really easy way to piss off your database. So I wouldn't use that, but you can use Phoneburner as well. Contact management software. I use Phoneburner for a lot of it. Agent Hub, Attract Zen, Reonomy Build Out. A lot of these things are multi-use. They're also CRMs as well. So don't get too complicated. Pipedrive is very cheap, and it's a great way to move things along in your pipeline and keep track of it. Zaps, we don't really need to talk about that, but Zaps is another software that allows different softwares to talk to each other. So if I push a button on my Phoneburner that says, hey, yeah, he's a hot lead, maybe I can have a Zap that will then connect it to my different CRM and add their information to it, right? So they don't necessarily integrate together, but I can use a Zap that would quickly connect the two, because a Zap would be like logged into both accounts and be able to do that. Next, we're maintaining the database, right? Now, we used to track things manually. You're going to put it a to-do list. You got your big old whiteboard, right, with all your active projects on it, Excel spreadsheet, that kind of stuff. New way to do that would be automated sequences with your CRM. So depending on how, you can do lead scoring, where depending on how many emails they open or what they watch of your drip campaign, maybe they get a higher rating as a prospect, and that'll trigger at some point a task for you to call this prospect. Okay. This is all techie, very shiny objecty. If you're not maintaining your database on the Excel spreadsheet, or just by doing your, well, that'll be annoying, by doing your, let's get rid of that. There we go. By doing your, with a whiteboard, and there's no reason for you to add complexity. Okay, so keep it simple. As you build up to where you're kind of having trouble having enough time to do this stuff, then you can add some of these complexities that'll streamline it. But you have no need for this until you have your time sucked up with all of the money-making activities, right? So maintaining the database, we got build out, Phoneburner, Pipedrive, etc. Pipedrive is very cheap. These automated systems, again, this is kind of interchangeable. They do a lot of the same stuff. Active Campaign, MailChimp, Agent Hub, Attract Zen, Zoom and Loom are good. I don't need to meet someone. I don't need to drive an hour and a half to go meet someone. I can do it on Zoom. If I want to describe something about the prospect or the maybe the property that I'm offering to the prospect, I can use Loom. Loom is a good software that plugs into your Chrome, and you click a button, and then you can do a screen share auto commentary where you're just talking them through the process. A lot of people are too lazy to read your emails. I find it helps the prospect be a lot more informed about what I'm trying to show them if I use Loom. So I would use those. Again, we're going to go over all of this in other videos too. Brokering. Okay, so like I said, the guy before that I was talking to wants to print it out. He's using fax, he's using snail mail, he's doing wet signatures. That's a lot of time and effort and pain in the butt, especially for you, but also for the client. That doesn't necessarily need to happen. A lot of times I've been using Zoom, online meetings where you're using Zoom, Loom, Google Hangout. There's a lot of stuff like that. All of my materials are in the digital centrally located folder that everyone that I need to has access to, and I'm updating constantly. That way at the very end of the transaction, I can just finish updating the final documents and send him a link. And now he's got digital materials of the entire transaction, all the contacts, everything. Okay, so we're doing things online now. And after the pandemic, people seem a lot more comfortable doing that too. As far as communication, email, online document folders, like I said, there's this, I call it the war room, but there's like a build out is a software program that has like a central location for absolutely everything. They can even see through a link all of the different tasks and activities I'm doing for their listing. And then you don't need a physical scanner. You actually, phone apps will scan things on for you now. You can actually get them for free. So, and they work just as good as old scanners for the most part. Right? Just kind of reiterates what we were just talking about there. These are the different things that I would use for those different areas of brokering transactions, right? I don't need to physically print it out. I can send it by DocuSign or DigiSign. I've got apps to scan documents on. I've got mobile notaries for times I need it notarized or physically signed. So hopefully that helps. Again, keep it simple. A lot of shiny tools out there. I didn't go into what all of those things do, but they are very shiny and very attractive to someone who maybe doesn't want to do the broker. Maybe you don't want to do your cold calls, and you want to work on your program to kind of automate a bunch of stuff. You don't need that yet, for the most part. Inefficient work, right? You get your physical pen and paper, and you're just cranking out tasks. It's infinitely better than preparing for perfect work forever. So get out there, do the work. If you're not doing it perfectly, that's fine. If you're making mistakes, that's fine. That's what we want. We want you to be making mistakes and growing your comfort zone. And every day you should be trying to see progress from yesterday, not perfection. Otherwise, like I said, you'll just be preparing to get ready to go forever. It's not going to be perfect. Get out there and do the work. We do these trainings live every single week for our members. You can sign up at straighttupacademy.com if you're not already a member. We've got 50 hours of training specifically on different product types like multifamily, office, retail, introduction to commercial real estate. And every week we have office hours where we actually pick a topic like this. We talk about it, but we answer questions. We've actually helped some students close. They just closed a $7 million warehouse, right? Brand new commercial agents. We walk through the contract with them live. So if you want to enter commercial and you're not really sure where to start, it's a great place to start, very cheap. Hopefully this helped. We will see you next time, and I will hopefully see you at office hours next Friday once you sign up.